Hello and welcome to another episode. In today's episode, I am going to be talking about CSS animations. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you find this video useful, share it with someone else. And if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you want to support my channel, I am going to leave my PayPal link in the description below. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so to get started with CSS animations, I need you guys to open the same website that we have been using so far, which is w3schools.com. You're going to jump into the CSS section. You will go to the advanced section, and then you're going to pick their CSS animations. Once you have that open, I also need you to have open the same website we've been coding so far, and the code, of course. I already have my code clean, so my website is empty. So we're just ready to roll. So CSS animations, let's read first a little bit. CSS allows animations of HTML elements without using JavaScript or Flash, which is very convenient. Now, in today's chapter, we are going to be talking about a few properties. One is add keyframes, and then some animation properties, the ones that you see here in the example on the website. Now, first of all, let's have clear what is an animation. So what are CSS animations? An animation lets an element gradually change from one style to another. So if the element was red, it can turn it to yellow, it can change it, it can make something, something happen to that element. So you can change as many CSS properties that you want, as many times that you want. And well, the first thing that you need to know is how to use it, right? So to use CSS animation, you must first specify some keyframes for the animations, and then keyframes hold what styles the element will have at certain times. So think about animation like creating a movie or creating a video. I'm not sure if you're familiar in how to film a video, but when you're filming, you take certain frames, right? So each frame is moving at different times. Same things with animations. They will work at specific times during the period of the element that you're selecting or the time that you give to the element. And I'm going to explain that in depth a little bit in a moment. So here we have a keyframe rule. So when you specify CSS styles inside keyframes rule, the animation will gradually change from the current style to the new style at certain times. So to get an animation to work, you must bind an animation to an element. If you do not do that, the animation will not work. And here is an example. So what I am going to do is hit here where it says try it yourself, and I will show you by coding how you can animate an element. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, well, here we have a paragraph and some other things. What I'm going to do is just simply add a division into my HTML index file. So I already did that. And then we're going to style that division. Okay, so to style the division, first thing you want to do is add some width and height, the normal, then a background color, and then you have to name the animation. You see here, the animation name here is example. You can name it whatever you want. Here, we're just going to leave it as example. And then you set up a time in how long you want that animation to go through, right? So this time is 4 seconds. So it's a little bit similar than transitions, but here we now have to add keyframes. So that's the first thing you do. You set up the animation name, okay? And then you set up the duration that you want that animation to go through. Okay, next thing we have to do in our code is add the keyframe. Now I'm going to explain you this right now. Let's copy and paste the code. So you have to use the keyframe. So add keyframe, and you see then here we use example. So add keyframe space example, because the animation name is example. We want this to change from a background color of red to a background color of yellow. So the from has to be exactly the property that you want to change, right? So I want the background color, which is the property they're using here, red, to switch to background color yellow. So that's what the animation is going to do right now. So let me go ahead and hit save. Going back to our code, let's hit refresh in our web page. And boom, there you go. You see how now the animation in 4 seconds is changing from red to yellow. And here we do not have to hover nor anything. Like it'll start right away as soon as you get in the website, but the animation will only last for 4 seconds. So if I hit refresh, it'll do it again for 4 seconds, and then it'll go back to its main color, which is red, the one that we specified here. Okay, so that's how you make an animation work, and that's why it's important to know what keyframes you want this to change, or like from which time to what time, right? I'm going to close the code and going back to the animation. Okay, I am going to show you another example. Now, in this example, just so you know, we are going to use keyframes, but we are not going to use the from to that we just use in this example. No, what I am going to do right now is use percentages, because on keyframe you can also set up a percentage rather than the from to. Okay, so we can say, and let me explain this. You know how, let's say that you have a line, right? So that line means it's 100%. So in that line, when you move, right, this is 0. Let's say that you start at 0, and then you move a little bit, then you go all the way to 25%. Then it moves again, then you go to 50%. Then it moves again, you go to 75%. Then you move again, it'll go all the way through 100%. And I'm just giving you some examples. The percentage will be probably 3%, 2%, whatever you want it to be. Okay, but bottom line here is that our 100% here represents 4 seconds. Okay, so that's 100%. So 25% of that 4 seconds will be 1 second, right? Then 50%, it's 2 seconds, which is half of the 4, right? Then the 75% is 3, and obviously 100% will be 4, right? So that's exactly how the percentages work. So if I don't want to use from to, I can simply change that from 0 to 100, okay? Or from 25% to 100. So right now I'm going to create, with the same division, a different example here. We're going to create 4 keyframes, meaning in the line, 4 times the animation is going to do something different. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's remove this. And we are going to say, well, actually, let's simply just go ahead and paste this to make it faster for you. Okay, so what I am telling my code right now is that I want that when this starts at 0%, the background color be red. After a second has passed, which a second will be 25% of 4, then I want this to switch to yellow. Then when 2 seconds pass by, which is 50%, I want this to change to blue. And then when this is at 100%, I want it to be green. And then once the animation is over, it'll return back to red. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit save. Going back to our code, let's hit refresh. And boom, see, and there you go. Blue and then green and then go back. So each second is changing. That's what you will see here. So just go ahead, and this not necessarily has to be 4. I mean, you can change it to 10. If you set this up to 10 seconds, obviously if you divide it, then 5 seconds will be 50%, right? Then 25% will be 2.5 seconds. So on and so forth. So bottom line, if you don't want to simply use from to, because most likely you're going to have to use certain percentage in your time frame, you can go ahead and you can use the percentages, just so you can see a little bit more playful your animation, right? So I hope that makes sense, but if you're a bit confused here with percentages, just hit me up in the comment section below, and I will read your questions and I will make sure to reply as soon as I can. Okay, so you can also use then the keyframes with percentages. That's another thing I wanted to talk about here. Then other thing you can do is also switch this not only with one specific property, but you can also use different properties within the same code. So see here, you have different properties like left and top added into the keyframe. So I'm going to copy all the properties here so that you can see what this is going to do now to the code. And by the way, I'm going to set this up also the position to be relative. That's the only thing I'm going to change here. So let's just do position relative. Okay, just adding that there. And then let's erase all that and let's incorporate the new code. So at 0%, we want the background color to be red, and this is going to be positioned to the left 0 pixels and to the top 0 pixels. Then when this is 25% going through, meaning at 2 seconds, the background color will switch to yellow. It's going to move to the left 200 pixels, and then it's going to move top 0 pixels. And then so on and so forth. When it has 50% blue, left 200 pixels, top 200 pixels. At 75%, it'll turn green. And then finally, at 100% will be red. And then it's going to move left and top as well. So let's go ahead and hit save. Going back to our code, I'm going to hit refresh now. And there you go. That's the animation. So see, red starts here. Then when you move, yellow, green, well, actually yellow, blue, and green, red, yellow, blue, and green, and then goes back to red. So that's another thing you can do. You can incorporate to your animation other properties. Okay. Now, other thing that I want to show you is that you can also add a delay in your animation. Okay, your animation doesn't necessarily have to start right away. You can make a delay at least, I don't know, a couple of seconds. Let's add a delay here. So if I use animation and then I use delay, let's say that I want this to wait for 2 seconds. Let's use the same as the example. I want this to wait until 2 seconds once they get into the page so they can start seeing the animation. I do not want the animation to start right away. So now when I hit refresh, 1, 2, and now the animation is going to start moving. So it didn't start right away. We have now a delay of 2 seconds so that the animation can get started. So that's another thing that you can do with the animation property here. Now, one other thing that you can do is also set up the delay to a negative. When you do that, obviously, the animation probably will be already starting before we even hit refresh. Like if I change this to -2, let me do that just so you can see the example. Okay, -2, when I hit refresh, you see how it's starting at the blue division color. It's starting on second 2, so it starts when the animation is blue because it's -2. So that's another thing you can do, set up your value to negative values, okay? Then the other thing you can do is set how many times an animation should run, and for that you use the animation iteration count property, which is going to tell the browser how many times you want the animation to go through. So if we use that, let's copy this and let's paste it into our code. And by the way, let me just remove the delay. I just want to show you how this one works here. Okay, one sec. There you go. Okay, so the animation iteration count is going to be 3 times. So I want this animation to repeat itself 3 times, not only 1. You can also do that. If I hit save, going back to our page, I go ahead and I hit refresh. Then the animation is not going to stop. When it turns to red, it's going to move again a second time, and then it'll go again a 3rd time. You can set the animation up as many times as you want, but if you want to turn your animation to be non-stop, like you want the animation to always be there, you can also set up the value to be infinite, and that's never going to stop. So if I set this up to infinite, like that, hit save, going back to our page, hit refresh, then the animation is going to go through over and over and over again, non-stop. Okay, so that's some other thing that you can do with animations. You can go ahead and you can make sure that the iteration count is infinite so that whatever user you have there takes a look at that animation every single time without having even to hit refresh to your web page. Okay, now another thing I want to talk about here in animations is that you can give them a direction, okay? You can tell your animation where to go. Do you want to go always to the right and start always to the right, or do you want this to be reversed? So we can definitely do that with animation direction. If you set this up as normal, then the animation is played as normal, so it goes forward. If you set the animation direction to reversed, then the animation will be played in reverse direction, so meaning backwards. So instead of playing to yellow, it'll probably move to green, the opposite side. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you the example here. I'm going to set this up. Let me remove infinite, and I'm just going to make it repeat twice, just so you can see this. And we are going to set up the animation direction. So this animation direction, let's use, animation direction is going to be reversed. Okay, so I don't want it to start from red to yellow. It'll start from red to green, then to blue, then to yellow, and then to red. Okay, it's going to go backwards. So I'm going to hit save. Going back to our code, let's hit refresh. So there you go. You see? Now it's starting in reverse direction. Okay, if you set this up as normal, obviously it'll go normal, right? From red to yellow, then to blue, to green, and then to red again. Now, another thing that you can do is alternate the directions here. You can go ahead and you can do that. If you choose alternate, then the animation is played forward first, then backwards, then forward, then backwards, and it'll, go like that every single time. So let's do that just so I can show you that one. So let's set this up to alternate and let's hit refresh. So see, right now it's going forward. Then the second time it'll go backwards. So that's another thing you can do with animations. You can use all these values, normal, reverse, alternate, whatever you want to do with it to make it more animated, right? Okay, so another thing here that you should know is that you can specify the speed curve of the animation, same as in your transition property. You can set this up in how fast you want this to be. You can make it ease, linear, ease in, ease out, etc. Okay, so for this example, let's hit here where it says try it yourself. Okay, and what I am going to do is copy all divisions here. Okay, and we are going to paste all of them here into our body section. I'm going to hit save. And we're going to copy the same style, okay, just so you can see all of them. And I'm going to explain the code in a moment. Okay, there you go. So to all divisions here, you see how they have each an ID. ID division 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so those are the IDs, but I want to give the same style to all of them. So all divisions will have a width of 100 pixels, then a height of 50 pixels, background color red, font weight will be bold, position will be relative, and then the animation here is my move, okay? That's the name. Now it's not example. Now it's my move. You can change this to example again if you want, but we're going to use the same as the example here. Now here they're using the shorthand code. Okay, so my move for 5 seconds is going to be infinite. That's what they're doing. So they're using the animation name, of course, then the duration, and then here they're making this iteration be infinite. Okay, so then to each division, they are applying an animation timing function, which is the one that is going to let you apply the values of linear, ease in, ease out, and so on, right? So each division will have a timing function different. The first one will be linear, the second one will be ease in, ease out, is in and out. And then after you have added all the timing functions to each ID, then you need to specify the keyframe. As you can see here, the keyframe name my move, which is this one on top, this one right here, is going to go from the left 0 pixels and then all the way to the left 300 pixels. Okay, so from to, we're not using percentages here just to make everything quicker. So let's hit save now. Oh, and also let's hit save in our index file. And going back to our website, let's hit refresh. And boom, there you go. So see, this one, it's linear. This one, it's ease in, ease out, and this one it's ease in and out. So that's another thing that you can do with animations here. Okay, so moving on here, you can also specify how you want your animation to start and how you want your animation to end. Now, we've seen a couple of examples where you have seen before that your animation, it's actually just starting at red and then the last frame went to green, but then it goes back to red. Well, we can change that. We can change that by using the animation fill mode. This property is going to specify a style for the target element when the animation is not playing. So before it starts, after it ends, or both, before it starts and when it ends, right? So for this, you have the next values, which is none, right? There will be none value applied to it. Forward, so the element will retain the style value that is set by the last keyframe. Pay close attention to that. Backwards, which is going to get the style value that is set by the first keyframe, or both. The animation simply will follow the rules for both forwards and backwards, and then it's going to get both directions. So I'm going to show you how this works. Let's hit here where it says try it yourself. I am going to use the same example that we see here. We simply are going to use a division, okay? Let's go back here. Let's delete all this, and let's just leave a normal division. I'm going to delete all the style we have added, and we're going to copy the new style here. Okay, so let's copy here and paste it. So we have a width of 100 pixels, height of 100 pixels. The background, it's red. That's how it starts, right? Position relative. The animation name is going to be example. Then the duration will be only 3 seconds this time. And the autofill mode, which is what we are talking about, is going to be forward. Okay, so forward, again, according to W3 schools here, it's going to retain the style value that is set by the last keyframe. So the last keyframe that we're adding here, it's blue. Okay, so it's not going to go back to red. If we set up the animation fill mode to forward, the animation will end up being blue, okay, at the last keyframe, because this is the last keyframe right here. Okay, so let me go ahead and let's hit save in both documents, and going back to our page, let's hit refresh. So there you go, from red to blue. And then it stays there in that position, which is what our last keyframe is saying. The top will be 200 pixels and with a background color of blue, because we have this going forward. Now, if we go ahead and we change that and we set it up to backwards, is going to retain the keyframe, the first keyframe actually. So let's go ahead and let's change this to backwards, okay? Just so you can see this example here. So let's set this up for backwards. Let's hit save. Going back to our code, let's hit refresh. And there you go. So see blue, and then boom, backwards. It goes back to the first frame, which is red. Okay, and then you can do both. It's going to follow the rules forward and backwards. So let's change this from backwards to both, just so you can see the example. Let's hit save, going back to our code, refresh, and boom, starts in red, finishes in blue. Okay, and it stays there in blue. Why? Because it follows the same rules that we already apply. It starts in red and then it finishes in blue. Okay, so that's as simple as you can go ahead and actually use the fill mode to set up where do you want your animation to start and where do you want your animation to end. Another thing that I want to talk about here, and actually a final thing I want to talk about animation, is that you can shorthand write this property. You see how we use all that animation name, duration, time function, delay, duration, direction. It's a lot, right? So if you want to write everything just in a normal line of code, in one simple line of code, you can definitely do that. All you have to do is use the animation. Then you're going to use this order. So the name will be first, then you will use a duration, then you will make it linear or whatever, right? The time function. Then you will use the delay. Then you're going to use the duration property, and finally you're going to use the direction property right there. So if you want to try it out, we can definitely do that. What I am going to do is very simple. I'm going to copy all the style. We are going to leave the same division. I'm just going to leave only one division. And let's paste this. So see here, we're using a width of 100 pixels, height of 100 pixels, red, position is relative. And now the animation property has everything shorthand written. Okay, so there you go. We have the name of the keyframe will be my first, which is this one. Then 5 seconds, linear, 2 seconds, infinite, alternate. And then you have here some percentages, so you can see that example. So let's hit save. Going back to our code, let's hit refresh. Boom. So there you go. You see it has a 2 seconds delay, and it's moving as we order this. Okay, it's alternating its direction, it's moving infinite, it's not stopping, and then it's following all the colors we set up here on the keyframes: red, yellow, blue, green, red. Right? So as simple as that, you can go ahead and you can set this up. So that was it for this tutorial, everyone. I hope you liked it. I hope you've learned a lot. Remember, if you have questions, you can leave them in the comment section below, and I will make sure to reply as soon as I can. Also remember, if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. That really helps my channel. And if you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. That way you are always notified when I'm uploading a video. Also remember that you can always ask Lixi. Bye everyone, and see you again in the next episode.